good evening, you guys. As I promised in last week's video where I shared with you all a purifying balm, today I'm going to be bringing you some house cleansing practices as suggested to me through the lovely people over on my Patreon. And I'll actually be sharing 3 practices to be exact. So once again, just to set the premise here, because of the ongoing issues with the world, a lot of us right now are feeling a bit stuck, especially in our environments. And so in an effort to aid this, it was recommended to me to create another house cleansing spell to refresh our homes and create a supportive and nurturing environment. But last week I came to the realization that before I could work on the energy in my environment, I needed to work on the energy within myself. So I began my work on crafting the purifying balm I shared with you all. And now that I've been using that, I feel a lot better within myself, and I'm confident moving forward with some of the larger energy focuses. Now, I've done a handful of videos in the past detailing different ways to cleanse or purify a space. As if you can't tell, cleansings are some of my favorite practices to do. And as I'm someone who, even prior to the pandemic, works and goes to school from home, often in confined spaces, the energy can get clouded pretty quick, or at least settle in an unwanted way for the space. For example, my office and bedroom are one and the same, and so keeping the energies in that room balanced is a challenge and something I have to work with often, or else I won't be getting any sleep, or worse, I won't be getting any work done. Now, ideally later in life, those rooms will be separated so that the bedroom can have sleep and calm energies and the office can be more focused on productivity. But right now that's not possible for me, and I'd imagine the same goes for quite a few of you as well, especially right now. In my experience thus far, these combined spaces tend to get a bit off kilter quicker than anywhere else, especially the ones that I spend a significant amount of time in. So over the years I've been practicing, I've developed a handful of simple workings that I implement to help with this. And so those are the ones I'll be sharing with you today. Now, these practices I'll be sharing can be used as a full house cleanse or simply just as random upkeep for certain spaces. And it's really up to you to decide what will work best for your given situation. But I thought, since most homes right now need a bit more work than usual because of the pandemic, simplicity would be best. Now, since my practice is very season-based, I'll be sharing with you the recipes I've been using as of late in the summer months. But come fall or winter, the ingredients will change a bit as the seasons are changing. So feel free to change these up if need be, if it's a different season or if you don't have the same ingredients that I do. And of course, feel free to use these even if it's a different season. Really, it's up to you to decide what's going to work best in your craft. I've just found that my spell work tends to be more effective for me when I'm working with the energy of the season and using what is properly in power at the time. But of course, that isn't always the case, and even today, the practices I'll be sharing with you do have an element that carries through for the majority of them, regardless of what time of year it is. So just to say it one last time, feel free to tweak up these spells and practices however you may need to fit your practice or to just fit what you have abundantly around you. Alrighty, now that that's all out of the way, let's talk about what I'll be sharing. First, I wanted to start with something a bit more traditional and recognizable, with an herb bundle. It's commonplace among many cultures to use smoke cleansings to purify a space, and it's honestly probably my preferred form of working. But I know from my own experience that it isn't always an option, maybe because the place you live in doesn't allow fire or smoke, perhaps there are health reasons, or for whatever else. So I made sure to add a similar option with my second way to cleanse a space, an herbal spray. It's utilized in a similar fashion to burning herbs, but it's just done without smoke, so it's far more accessible. And it's still a very effective way to cleanse. Personally, this is my favorite maintenance method, and I usually have one on my desk to help cleanse when the energy feels a little crowded. Now, my last method is a little bit different from those two, but I really wanted to have 3 different ways to cleanse, so I thought I'd throw this one in there. So it's a cleansing rinse of sorts, and I've shared with you before a very basic recipe for one, but I thought it would be useful to show you how things do change and evolve depending on the season. And this was as good an example as any. But first, let's get started with the herb bundle. As I said earlier, smoke cleansings are very common and are a fantastic way to go about cleansing a home or a space. The smoke can very easily drift throughout a room, surrounding objects, and getting into all the little nooks and crannies. Plus, they're very easy to construct. There are multiple different herb combinations you can use for your bundles, and for me, they change from season to season. For example, in the wintertime, I tend to use more cedar, and at the end of spring, I go for lavender. And of course, many of you are probably already aware of sage bundles. This time, however, I went for rose, rosemary, and thyme. Typically, I do also prefer to add a bit of sage into my bundles, but I'm not growing any in my garden this year, so it was omitted in this bundle. To make them, it's really simple. Just bundle up all the herbs and then tie them tightly together with some cotton or natural fibered string. Then wait for them to dry completely before use. If it isn't completely dried, then the bundle won't burn efficiently, so patience is key. But once it is completely dry and it's ready to burn, make sure you burn your bundle with awareness. Never leave it unattended, and make sure you are following safe practices with it. It is fire, it can be dangerous. To begin, light the end of your herbs. Make sure it's caught well before gently blowing out the flame, leaving the herbs still glowing red and giving off some smoke. Occasionally, you may have to fan the bundle a bit to keep it burning, but this can also be utilized to help push the smoke in the direction you want it to go. But anyways, once you have it burning, just go about into every room, making sure to hit every place that you can. Now, when you're doing this, it's helpful to think about how you would maybe sweep a room with a broom and sweep all of the energy into one spot to then push it out into the hall, and continue doing that in every room until you can push it out the door. Now, you don't have to use the entire bundle in one go, and it can actually last quite a while depending on the size of your space. Just make sure to put it out completely before leaving it unattended. Now, alternatively, you can just burn the loose herbs, but I find there's a lot of benefit in having them all tucked nicely together in a bundle. Okay, next, let's talk about the cleansing spray. These are incredibly simple and they take absolutely no time to make, and yet they're still very effective and useful to have around. All you need is a bit of water and some essential oils. Sometimes I like to add stalks of herbs as well, but they can sometimes clog up the spray bottle, so you've been warned. To begin, I recommend charging an empty glass bottle in the sun for a couple of hours or doing some other sort of cleansing. Once again, my recipe does tend to change a bit throughout the year, but I do always use sage essential oil. But this time, of course, I went with the sage, then rosemary, and lavender. Fill up the rest of the bottle with ideally spring water or water collected from a natural source, but for the purposes of this video, I did water from my tea kettle. Then, similarly to how you went about the space with the herb bundle, just go about it the same way, but this time with the spray bottle. This is really a great alternative for anybody in a living situation that doesn't allow for smoke cleansings, and it's my go-to for any maintenance work. Now, lastly, we have that herbal wash. This is really kind of the cherry on top to me for any cleansing rituals, and it really helps to seal in the good and keep out the bad. This is a more expanded version than some I've shared in the past, though I typically try to tie chamomile into all of these, as chamomile is really great at keeping unwanted energy at bay. However, this time I couldn't use chamomile as my supply is pretty much nothing at this point, and the herb shop that I usually get my chamomile from is closed due to the pandemic. But we're working with what we have here, so instead I just used rose, sage, and lavender. To craft it, it's very straightforward. Simply add the herbs to a pail and fill it with boiling water. Then allow them to steep for a bit before topping off the bucket with some room temperature water. Now, you can either stop here or add essential oils of each of the ingredients used. This time I did choose to proceed that way, but it's not necessary and it's not something that I do every time. Then simply go about your home washing all of the thresholds with this infusion. Now, I would recommend having done a fairly substantial cleansing ritual before this, as it does have a sealing effect. But with our current climate of the world, it is really helpful to seal in the good and keep out the bad. So, alrighty guys, that's just about all I have for you. I hope this is sufficient and that you guys maybe have a practice here that'll help. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. If you haven't seen my other channel yet and you want to see more content from me, you should go over there and check it out. Also, if you're able and want to help support this channel, go ahead and check out my Patreon. There I give monthly downloads of my drawings and a bunch of other random things. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you are having a lovely day, and I can't wait to see you soon. Bye!